Hey everyone, today I'll be presenting my analysis regarding the hotel reservation dataset. To introduce my presentation, I analyzed the hotel reservation data using SQL to uncover insights into the guest preferences and booking trends. By exploring various aspects such as room types, meal plans, and market segments, I aim to enhance decision making and improve guest experiences. The dataset description is as follows. The dataset contained of a booking ID column, which is identified as a unique identifier for each hotel reservation. Number of adults column represents the total number of adults in the reservation, same as number of children. Number of weekend nights are the number of nights in the reservation that fall on the weekends. Number of weeknights are the number of nights in the reservation that fall on the weekdays. Type of meal plan, the meal plan chosen by the guests. Room type reserved is the type of the room reserved by the guests. Lead time is the number of days between booking and the arrival. Arrival date is obviously the date of the arrival. Marking segment type is the market segment to which the reservation belongs. Average price per room, the average price per room in the reservation, and booking status is the column that represents the status of the booking. The concepts I experienced during this hotel reservation analysis were data extraction and filtering, data aggregation, data sorting, and data integrity and validation. Starting off with our first query. What are the total number of reservations in the dataset? I applied this query where I selected the count of all the columns in this dataset, which is 700. Moving on with the second query, which was the meal plan most popular among all the guests. So I applied this query in which I selected the type of meal plan column and count of all the columns in the dataset, and I grouped by type of meal plan and ordered by in descending order. Moving on with the third query, what is the average price per room for reservations involving children? I selected average price per room average column in as average price per room from the hotel reservation dataset where the number of children were greater than 0, so that it does not select any column, any entry that does not contain any number of children. Moving on with our fourth query, how many reservations were made for the year 2018? I selected all the columns of my dataset where the year was belong to 2018 here. str underscore to date was the function which I used to convert the arrival date column into the date, month, and year format. Moving on with our fifth query, what is the most commonly booked room type? I applied this query select in which I selected room type reserved column and the count of all the columns from my dataset where I grouped by room type reserved in descending order, ordered by the descending order, and the first entry of it. Moving on with our sixth query, how many reservations fall on a weekend? That is, number of weekend nights is greater than 0. I selected all the columns from the dataset where the number of weekend nights are greater than 0. In my seventh query, what was the highest and lowest lead time for reservations? I selected the lead maximum entry in my lead time column as maximum lead time and the minimum entry in my lead time column as minimum lead time from my hotel reservation dataset. The maximum lead time was 443 and there was no minimum lead time. What is the most common market segment type for reservations? I selected market segment type column and the count of all the columns from the count from the hotel reservation dataset. It was grouped by market segment type in descending order, which the result are as shown. In my ninth query, I how many reservations have a booking status of confirmed? As the column of booking status only showed cancelled or not cancelled, so I assumed that not cancelled is indication of confirmed. I selected all the columns and the count of all the columns from the hotel reservation dataset as confirmed reservations, where I applied this condition where the booking status should be not cancelled. In my 10th query, what is the total number of adults and children across all the reservations? I selected the column of number of adults and number of children. I selected the sum of both these columns as these aliases, total adults and total children, from my hotel reservation dataset. In my 11th query, it was asked what is the average number of weekend nights for reservations involving children. I selected the average of the number of weekend nights as average weekend nights from the hotel reservation dataset, where the condition was that number of children should not be 0. In my 12th query, how many reservations were made in each month of the year? I again converted the arrival date column into the date format column, in which I only needed the month entry as month, and the count of all the columns from my dataset. It was grouped by the date column ordered by month. In my 13th query, what was the average number of both weekend and weekdays spent by guests for each room type? I selected room type reserved, and I selected the room type reserved column and a sum of number of weekend nights and number of weeknights average as average nights from the dataset, and it was grouped by room type reserved. In my 15th query for the reservations involving what is the most common room type and what is the average price for the room type, I selected room type reserved column as the most common room type and the count of all the columns, average price per room, the average of this column as average price per room from the dataset where the number of children had to be greater than 0. It was grouped by room type reserved and ordered by in descending order. In my 15th query, find the market segment type that generates the highest average price per room. I selected the market segment type column and the average price per room's average as average price per room. From the hotel reservation dataset, it was grouped by market segment type and ordered by in descending order. To conclude all this presentation, I would like to say this project used SQL to analyze hotel reservation data, revealing key trends and guest preferences. The insights on a popular room types, meal plans, and market segments can help hotels improve operations and enhance guest experiences. Thank you.